What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Res Podcast. Super exciting guest episode for you today. We've got a phenomenal story of what it looks like to build a business and like the actual ups and downs of that, the payoff of that. It's going to serve as a big inspiration for you. And hopefully it just gives you a really clear understanding of what a realistic timeline looks like in order to build a successful business. This story from Gabriella is just incredibly inspiring. I loved this interview. I know we both love this interview. She's just a bundle of joy. It was awesome.
It was really, really cool. And if you guys saw last week, if you listened to the podcast last week, that our round 10 of the Creative Rise Mastermind beat all revenue records of all masterminds, of all history. They, in 6 weeks, so 36 businesses in round 10, in 6 weeks, made $422,000 in the 6 weeks, which is insane.
That's so over $10,000 a day.
That's crazy.
Over $70,000 a week. Like just crazy numbers. So
it is wild.
We are pumped up about that. If you have not listened to last week's episode, make sure you go cue that one after this one. But for this episode, we've actually got a round 9 graduate. So she's not in round 10, she was in round 9. Gabriella is awesome. She is a wedding photographer, and she's just got a really, really cool and realistic story of growth. And it's just it's a beautiful testament to what hard work, patience, and just consistently doing the right things over the right amount of time leads to. So here's our episode with Gabriella. Enjoy it.
What's up, Gabriella? Welcome to the Creative Rise Podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat.
Well, we are excited to chat as well, and to have all these listeners listen in on our chat as well, because you have such a cool story, and I'm so excited. We're going to dive into it in a second. But as usual, on a guest podcast, we start off with our signature rapid fire questions, which also tend to not be very rapid.
Sometimes they're not as rapid as they should be.
We will do our best on this one.
We'll try and go quick.
First rapid question, Gabriella, is where are you from? Super easy.
I'm from Reading, Pennsylvania, but I'm currently right outside of Philly.
Right outside of Philly.
Yes,
all right. Okay.
Philly girl.
And then for everybody who's listening to the show, what do you do? What is your creative business?
I am a wedding and couples photographer.
Nice and simple. To the point.
I love it. Actually rapid. This is like
rapid.
We're keeping it quick.
Okay, then how long have you been in that industry for? How long have you been a wedding photographer and couples photographer?
3 years this fall. So August 2020 is when I officially started my business.
Okay, cool.
Amazing.
And that's when you went full time. When did you go like full time, make that jump?
So I was working some part-time jobs in addition to doing all of these, like, I called them like freelance gigs at the time. And I had studied photojournalism in college. So I was trying to get some of those gigs as well, but because it was COVID, things just weren't really like happening much. So I actually went full time December 2020. The restaurant that I was working part-time at they said that I needed to work either like Thanksgiving or Christmas. And I was like, I'm not that committed. Like, I don't really want to do that. So let's just go full time.
Amazing. That's
so
awesome.
Good.
I love that. Just taking the leap. That's amazing. Okay. What is one, I know you've only been in business for now like 2-ish years, but what's one flop, fail, embarrassing moment you've had in your business, just to humanize you for a second? Because we're going to talk about a lot of the awesome things you've been doing this year. We want to make sure people know that Gabriella is a true human. So what is like a flop you've had in your business?
I've had a couple, and I listen to the podcast often, so I always think about like, oh, what would I say? So I know which flop.
Now's the time.
Yes, I can share.
The floor is yours.
Amazing. So a year ago, last fall, I had an engagement session scheduled in the evening, but I was in the middle of switching my calendars from paper calendar to Google Calendar because I'm a paper girl at heart. I love writing things down. But there was a quick email like exchange during that week. We moved the session up like an hour or two because the location we were at had closed earlier that day, and I forgot to add that to my Google Calendar. So I was in the shower getting ready for the session later on, and I get a text from my client, and it says, "Hey, we're here." And I was like, oh my gosh, what? And it was about an hour drive away. So I rushed as quick as possible, got ready, got there. They had brought some beers for the session. So they were just kind of like drinking in the car and having a good time waiting for me.
Tailgating before their
and
engagement session.
literally, yes. So they were champs. Ended up being an amazing session. And I just photographed their wedding this fall, and it was absolutely incredible. And I love the photos, and I love them, and it's fantastic. So ended up being
That's
okay.
so
Yes.
What a good save. What a good wrap
That
up
is.
on a potential disaster. That has got to be easily one of the worst feelings.
Oh,
Is
my
to
gosh,
get that
terrible.
text and it fully sets on you and you're like, oh my goodness, I am not where I'm supposed to be. There's got to be
Yes.
like only a few things in life that can feel
I feel
more
like
like
as a-
awkward and embarrassing.
I feel like as a business owner, you just have like PTSD of like text messages from clients that come at times
Oh,
you're
yeah.
expecting. That is like
Yes.
absolutely like, or you wake up on a Saturday where you don't have a wedding and you're like, am I sure I don't have a wedding today? Like, am I actually really sure? That is a great flop, and I'm glad you were able to share your flop that you've been thinking about for a little while. That was a great one.
So glad.
So glad. Okay, Gabriella, thank you so much again for being on this podcast. You actually messaged you were part of one of our Creative Rise Masterminds, which we loved
Were you in
from this last year. You were in round 9.
Correct?
Round 9, yes.
Yes. Oh
Just
my
this
gosh.
last
Okay.
one.
It's always so hard to remember all the rounds, but it's like we know everyone was you can like put the people together that you were with, but sometimes you forget the number. So round 9, that was
Yes.
such a good crew. So epic.
It
Really
was
good.
amazing.
Yes.
And I love those people.
It was so fun. And everyone still loves each other. Everyone still like chats on like the group chat and gives updates and all that kind of stuff. And the reason we have you on the podcast today is because you updated the Creative Rise Mastermind Round 9 group chat about where your business is at and what you've been doing the last few months income-wise.
Incredible.
And it's been absolutely insane. So why don't you just give people a little bit of a taste on like what the last 3 months have looked like for you? We're going to go back in your story in a second, but just give the big win to all the listeners listening right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last 3 months have been like the highest consecutive income months in my 3 years in business. So July broke the income record for the month. I keep little records for myself with a ton of wedding bookings coming in. And then August passed that by another $1,000. So broke the income record again. And then what's the next month? September. Yes.
September.
That was another like month right around that number. So the numbers were 14K in July, 15K in August, another 14K in September, which is just bonkers.
That is a good summer.
Well, it's so
Yes.
incredible. Even thinking back to like you just talked about 2 minutes ago on the show, how you decided to pursue your business like really all in because you were working at a restaurant job that was going to force you to work a day you didn't want to work. And I'm assuming you're probably also having to work that for a dollar figure that probably wasn't really worth it. To now you're like, you're sitting in your own home. You've got a beautiful dog behind you that shout out to you.
Newly adopted dog.
Yeah. Why don't you shout out your pup behind you? Because for everyone who's watching the
I love
podcast, you're getting an extra
Yes.
little see into Gabriella's world. So who is this?
Shout out Lenny. We adopted Lenny yesterday. He's a golden doodle who was rescued from a puppy mill, so he's still a little shy, but he's such a snuggle bug, and he's just chilling there
So
on the
cute.
couch.
So
Oh.
Lenny is sleeping on the couch. For everyone who's just listening to this, Lenny is a golden doodle, right? Sleeping on the couch directly behind her, and she literally got him yesterday. And to think
Yes.
that like you are now at that stage in life where you're working from home, you're making a phenomenal income, you've built some really good systems in your business that have provided you with a $14,000 a month, $15,000 a month, $14,000 a month. That is so incredible in just a span of a few short years from when you decided to go all in on. So, that is just so epic. So
Congratulations,
thank you for
first of all.
sharing that with everybody.
Thank
And
you.
for everyone
Yes.
who's listening to this on the podcast, take that as just so much inspiration that if Christy and I can do it, anyone can do it. If Gabriella can do it, anybody can do it. So cool that you're sharing that win, because a win, we always say this at Creative Rise, a win for one is a win for all. And so if you're listening to the show, this is a win for you as well, because you're getting to soak in the inspiration and soon to be the systems and everything from what
Yes.
Gabriella has built.
Absolutely.
So cool.
So, Gabrielle, talk to us about this. Is like amazing, and someone listening might be like, "Oh my gosh, this girl must just have cracked it, and maybe she's always been this way, and it's always been successful." But we know that is not always the story of every single business, and that wasn't the story for us, and we know it's
Wasn't
not
the
the
story
story
for me.
for basically anybody. You just start off getting those types of months. So walk us back in your business maybe like in the last, couple years, you probably didn't start off making 14K months. So walk us through a little bit of your journey and maybe some of the challenges and frustrations you felt on your way to those types of months. Bring us back.
So much I could talk about. I guess I'll just start off with how I generated leads, which is how I ended up getting paid and making money. I started off using one of those apps. It's called Thumbtack. You sign up with like a profile and everything, and it shows up on Google, but you pay for every single lead that comes in, even if they're not really serious about you. So it's a great way to just get started, get your name out there, take photos, build up your portfolio. But after time, it's not very sustainable because you're literally just paying to talk to people and hoping that they will hire you. And so after I kind of phased that out, which was really scary to do because it was, people were coming in pretty frequently, and I had noticed Instagram leads were coming in, just not as frequently, but it was free. That was a huge jump to make to go to Instagram. But I was posting pretty consistently, lots of reels showing off personality. And so leads started coming in there, which is really cool to see. But it wasn't nearly as consistent. It was still working, just I was always stressed and worried about where the next lead would come in. And I guess I'll just jump forward to last winter was when I heard of you guys first. I literally heard about Creative Rise like 2 weeks before I joined the mastermind. It was a whirlwind.
That is so crazy.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
Amazing.
I hope that you would look back on that and be like, that was a good decision.
It was a good decision because I usually take my time and kind of consider things, but I just felt like a really good gut feeling about the mastermind. I'd seen Becca, Soul Like the Sun, she had posted all about it, and so I clicked onto it, and I was at a point in my business where I felt like I was staring at this brick wall, and the other side was like tons of success, and I'm just like pounding at the wall. I know it's there, but nothing I'm doing seems to get past it. And I just felt like jumping into the mastermind would teach me the skills that I wasn't aware of to break past that wall. So did the mastermind. It was amazing, fantastic, love it, highly recommend. Learned a lot and was applying a lot of that for the next couple months, but I was still seeing crickets. And I was like, what the heck? I learned so much. It all makes sense. It's working for so many other people. What's going on? But I just kept being consistent with what I learned. Even when it was difficult, I didn't want to, just kept showing up. And then the leads started coming in.
Yes. I love that story because it shows that when you learn something, that sometimes there takes time of implementation. And
100%.
so many people are just like, I just want the get rich quick scheme. I just want this one little thing that takes low effort. And they start to get really discouraged on 30 days in or 60 days in when they're like, wait, this didn't pop off for me. I'm seeing, Sally down the road or whatever it is. And it just shows oh my gosh, if you're doing the right things, results will come. You might not be able to be like, oh, next week it's going to happen, but they are coming because you're building towards that, which is what you exactly did, which I think is so encouraging for so many people who might be in the spot where they're like, I feel like I am doing a lot of things that are really smart, but I'm just not seeing results yet. When you mix great actions with time, great things happen.
Well, that's all success is, right? It's a mix of doing the right things for the right amount of time. Yeah. And so many people, I know I've been here in certain times in my life where you don't see anything. You're like, I just want to give up. So many people, they start doing the right things and then they don't see it quick enough. And so they stop and then they question if they were doing the right things, and it's unfortunate that people don't give it enough time. Kudos to you, Gabriella. You've given it the time and you're now starting to reap the benefit of that. So here's my question. I think this is what the audience is asking. Okay, so you've gone from the wall, and describe what that wall was, because you said you were kind of stuck at a wall. What was that wall income-wise? Was that a couple grand a month? What was that around?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely fluctuated, but I would say it was around $5 grand a month. It would dip lower some months, maybe a little higher, but
which is
there.
That's where we said this in actually a conversation in round 10 of the mastermind the other day. We were actually talking about how most people never actually break the $50,000, $60,000 per year mark because they get to that 5K spot, they feel like things are starting to go well, but then they hit that wall you were just mentioning, and they do not then build the new systems that will help they take them to a $80,000 six-figure business a year, which you're on a run rate to do that, which is so cool. So here's the question that I think the audience is asking that I want to ask you right now. In the season of waiting that you had, where you were waiting for that income to catch up to your actions, because that's really what it is, right? You were performing six-figure business owner actions, and you're waiting for your systems to start working for you to then give you a six-figure income. What are some of the actions you were taking that you started to really implement after the mastermind, actions and or systems? And what are some of the ones that you think have been really beneficial to you getting all these new leads and all these new inquiries, which is obviously, again, built you a higher income per month, which is incredible?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that really helped was the talking to camera reels, giving tips specifically to my ideal client. We identified who my ideal client was in the mastermind, which was really helpful to have clarity on what kind of pain points to talk about. So every week, I felt, I think it was every week. I definitely do it every week now. But I would just consistently just talk to Kim and be like, hey, even it was like after a run, I was gross and sweaty, but I had an idea. I'm like, hey guys, like budding tip, wedding photographer, this is what you should consider for your day. And I've gotten inquiries from people who specifically mentioned those reels, saying that they love like hearing all of the tips, and it's been really helpful in their season of wedding planning. So that's been cool to see the feedback, which you don't often get as a creative business owner. So that's definitely something. And then something else I've been doing is just really telling my either potential clients or current couples that I really want to work with them and I enjoy working with them, and that like this is fun for me too, and I'm excited to work with you, because sometimes that goes unsaid. So with current engagement clients, after their engagement session or proposal, I'll send them a series of automated emails with some tips for them, and then an email saying, hey, I really like you guys. I'm so excited for you to get married, and I would love to photograph your wedding. Like, hit me up. Here's my current pricing. Like, just contact me. So that's also been really cool. Just because, again, even though I've always loved working with my couples, I've never really said it to their face, like, hey, I enjoy working with you guys, and I'd love to do it again. So those are the two biggest things I think that made a real difference. That, and then just also, since Instagram is a big lead generation place for me, being consistent with all types of posting, not just the face camera reels.
Yeah.
So
okay,
good.
There's so much to unpack in there. There's so much good value. And one, I think people don't pitch themselves enough.
Yes.
So to past clients, people that worked with them, or maybe even just friends, like in a good value forward way, pitching yourself is like, that is so good that you're doing that, and that you're following up with your clients, and that you're actually telling them you want to work with them. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I have to look really busy, and I have to look really like, you know, kind of like over, like you can't afford me, or I don't have time for you type of vibe. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work when you're trying to hire somebody that you want to have be next to you on your wedding day. Like, that just doesn't work. And so I love that you are like telling people, first of all, what you want, and then also telling them like, hey, I would love to work with you. I think that is so good.
And then giving them a plan, like, hey, here's my new pricing, contact me, right? Like you're showing them what the execution looks like in order to make that happen, which is so smart.
Yes.
And a lot of creatives don't do that either, and that surprisingly actually costs them a lot of deals.
And I want to ask you about the direct to camera stuff, because I know we talk about that a lot in especially the mastermind, talking about becoming like an authority in your space, becoming someone who actually gives value on socials rather than just taking and asking for money. So I love that you've been doing that, and that you've been doing it so consistently. That definitely pays off in bookings. What would you say to somebody who's like, maybe they just haven't started doing that yet, and they're a little bit confused on like either what to do, or they're like, I feel like I'm not sure if I should do it, if it would like, I need everything to look really professional. Like, what is that going to do to my brand? Like, what's your 2 cents? What's your advice to somebody who's maybe a little bit nervous in front of the camera, who's not sure if they want to do something like that? What would be your advice for someone who's like struggling when it comes to direct to camera social content?
Man, I'm so passionate about direct to camera social content. I think it's so great. I think something to really consider is people are hiring, if you're a photographer, for example, people are hiring you as a professional photographer. And so they want to know that you're a professional. And the way you show
Mm,
that is by like giving advice or saying, this is what I've experienced, or in all of the photo shoots I've done, like, you know, just giving examples and tips from your professional experience. So
yeah.
that's just a good way to show that you know what you're talking about and you're not just like a random girl with a camera. And
Yeah.
then the other thing too is showing your face is important, but I think talking is also really important because
Yep.
you're going to be interacting with the people you photograph at a wedding day or a photo shoot, whatever it is. And so it really helps them feel connected to you if they're listening to you and seeing your mannerisms and how you speak. Um, that kind of breaks down a barrier because part of photographing people in my expertise, the wedding and couple industry, is you need their barriers to just crash down. And a lot of that is done during a session, but a lot of it's also done beforehand when they see me. If I'm not like all perfect makeup or dressed up and I'm post run, but I'm sharing advice that I think will help them, I
For
think
sure.
people really appreciate the desire to like help others and not so much be the perfect professional looking person.
Yeah. I
Mm.
love that. I
Yeah.
love how you just said that because what I'm hearing you say, if I'm reading between the lines, is that you're saying people want to connect with people, and you would probably also go on our whim. I'm putting words in your mouth, but tell me if you agree with this. You'd probably also go on our whim to say that most people are actually uncomfortable in front of a camera. And so one of the
Oh my gosh,
hesitations they
yes.
have about booking a wedding photographer or a couple photographer or booking an engagement shoot is I don't know if I'm going to feel super comfortable. So they want to, if they're going to get themselves there to the position of booking, they really, really want to be picking somebody that they feel like they're going to be able to connect with and feel comfortable with. So if you are leading them in that by, hey guys, I just got off a run, I haven't showered yet, but here's a tip for you. You know, not only are you giving them an insight to your life, which makes them feel connected to you,
Yeah.
you are doing it in a vulnerable, just like natural, normal way of, hey, I'm also a human, you know?
Mm.
And I think that is so powerful, so powerful, because it allows other people to then, you know, go, well, if she can be that comfortable with herself, you know, I wonder if she can help me feel comfortable in front of her camera, you know, and that is so cool. So
Yeah.
I really love how you said that, Gabriella. I think that's genius. And I think that's a big takeaway for everyone who's
Yeah.
listening. So maybe you could give us some ideas for everyone who's listening. What are some of your favorite direct to camera videos to do that you've seen bookings come from? So I know you said that you've actually gotten some really good direct feedback on when a bride books you. She says, oh, I booked you because I saw this video and it was great. What are some of those videos and how could you encourage everybody else to replicate those who's listening to the show?
Yeah, so I'm actually doing like an informal series right now. Wedding tip from wedding photographer, super simple, but every Monday after a wedding, usually is on the weekend, I'll go through the wedding in my mind and think about anything that stood out to me that was
Hmm.
either different or unique or really, really cool, or something that I really liked, even if I see it often, because you can't assume that people know everything because I'm
Yeah.
fully in the wedding world. I think everything's obvious at this point, but it's not to people who just got
Yep.
engaged. So I'll say that, like, hey, wedding tip, like at this wedding, for example, um, ah, let's just do one. Have you heard of the something blue crew? Like if you have some people that you would love to spend more of your wedding day with, but they just didn't make the bridal party, you can invite them into your bridal suite as a something blue crew. They can wear blue to the wedding and they can still be part of you for the getting ready. They just might not stand up with you at the altar or the ceremony spot. So that's something cool that I've seen a couple times, but somebody may be devastated that they can't have some person on their bridal party,
Uh-huh.
and that's another way to incorporate them. So that's just like an example.
Great.
Wow,
So
I've never
not
heard that
even,
before. The
I
Something Blue
yeah,
Crew. That's
That's so cool.
awesome.
I've never heard that either, but that is a phenomenal video.
Boom, we're already interested.
Yeah. It's a
love
phenomenal
that.
video to make. And Gabrielle, I also just want to highlight this. Like, I love how direct that was towards the bride. Like, what I think a lot of photographers do wrong, Christy and I see this all day, every day
Oh yeah, I know
on
what you're gonna
Instagram.
say.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm going to say?
Yeah.
Is photographers make their content on Instagram for other photographers rather than making their content as sales content
Mm.
for the brides that live in the world of socials, right? So I love the example you just gave us that is a direct to camera example that you've used as a sales tactic to pull people in and eventually convert them to a bride. you're speaking so directly to, hey, if you are a bride, here's a tip for you, you know, and that clarity of from photographer to bride conversation rather than doing like photographer to kind of photographers, maybe brides can get some value of it too. It just does not work. And you know, your socials is for your brides. It's a sales machine for you. It's not so you can just connect with other wedding photographers. You can do that through there, but so important that your content is geared towards the actual person that's going to pay you, not just to like make the people who are in your industry think you're good at what you do, right?
Yes.
So cool.
That's amazing. Okay, I've got a question, very tactical. How often are you posting? What's like the frequency in which stories, posts, all of that kind of stuff? Because that's a huge question that a lot of people are always wondering is like, okay, how much time should I need to dedicate to my socials in order to see a payoff?
So in a typical week, I'm posting 4 to 5 times a week. I'm
We love
really
that.
trying to hit that 5 number right now. Actually just doing like a little, what's the word?
Posting
Not
challenge?
contest. Posting challenge, yes, to hit 5
Amazing.
times a week. That was really helpful. And I also actually
Yes.
hired Jords from our group,
So
from our
cool.
mastermind group, round 9. So she's
Jordan!
helping me. Yes, she's helping me make like 2-3 reels a week, and she's doing a much better job than I would ever do,
So
which
cool.
is amazing.
So good.
Because I'm getting so much content now from behind the scenes, and I'm great at the face to camera reels. I have ideas for that. When it comes to the behind the scenes content, she's much, much better. So that's
Cool.
what's been
So
helping me
good.
hit that 5 number. But I've been
Yeah.
seeing a lot of great results when I do that pretty consistently.
So cool.
I love that you've outsourced a piece, not the whole thing, but you've outsourced a piece of socials for yourself, because the whole point is getting as much great content out there as possible. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, I'm a photographer. Like, I have no idea about video. I have
not
no
good at
idea.
that
I'm not
type of
good at it.
content.
I don't know how to do it, all of that kind of stuff. So the fact that you've brought on someone else to help you with that is amazing. A lot of people will be like, oh, I can't outsource that. Like, I should just be doing all of that because it's free for me to do it. But you have to think of this. This is like your number one sales machine. This is the reason you make money. So if you need assistance, that is
Get
a
it.
huge, huge move, Gabriella, to be like, I'm going to incorporate someone on my sales team, essentially, is what that is like. So I think that is going to absolutely pay off that you've outsourced that. That's amazing.
That's so cool. And then
Really cool.
This is my last question, just really quickly, and then we'll start to wrap this up. But once you start posting a ton, how are you actually getting somebody from seeing your content to becoming a bride? Like, what does your client experience look like if you could just sum it up really quickly? Are you selling in the DMs? Are they coming to your website? Like, what type of CTAs do you use to get people to your website to inquire? Give us what that looks like so that people that are going, okay, I've got her, I'm going to start posting more. What's next?
So I have my website linked in my Instagram bio. Most people who inquire will go through that link and then go to my website and fill out an inquiry form. Some people will inquire through DMs, and I'll send them everything they need in the DMs just to make it easier
Cool.
for them to get in touch with me. But what I really want to do first is to get them on a Zoom call. First, we can see each other face to face again, kind of just like make me human, make them human, just break down that barrier. And then the sales call is like the really big selling point, really, because they're already interested. If they're on a sales call with me, they're already interested. They like my work. They like me enough to consider me. So the point is just to make sure they feel heard and understood, and to communicate that I can solve the problems that they're looking to solve, that I can make them feel comfortable, and that they, they can't think of anybody else to photograph their day. So that's the sales call is the big one for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that. Okay, so let's kind of put a bow on all of this. You've given so much value, Gabrielle. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
My question is, what would you say to yourself just getting out of the mastermind where you're like, okay, I've got a lot of stuff. I know what I can do to work on now, but I'm not seeing stuff happen as quickly as I maybe thought it was. Now that you've had those systems really start to do some work for you and you're seeing incredible benefits from it, $15,000 months, like it's epic. What would you say to yourself though, in that season of waiting? If there's a business owner who's listening to this, who's like, I feel like I'm doing the right things, but I don't yet feel like I'm getting the actual benefits of those right actions, what would you say to that person?
Okay, I have 3 things. I was like trying to remember them all, but we got it. So, the number 1, stay consistent and be patient. which is like, you don't want to hear that advice, but it
No,
really
yeah.
is the most important advice to hear. Because like, there's so much more in business. I'm only 3 years in business. There's so much more
Yep.
time to go. Be
Yep.
patient and consistent. The second one is to outsource, because I'm not good at everything and
Uh,
I don't have time for everything, and time is precious. So
yeah.
that is a really scary step, for sure. And I already forget what the third one is, but those are the two biggest
Be
pieces of
patient.
advice.
Solid.
Be patient and
Mhm.
outsource stuff. I love that. So what you're saying is continue to do the things you're good at, work on those systems, do the actions, and then the stuff that you know you need to be doing that you're not so great at, find a way to continue to do it because it's needed in order for you to grow. That's amazing
Yes.
advice. That's so good.
Amazing.
Gabrielle, this has been
Amazing.
awesome. Really quick, where can people find you?
Yes, I'm most active on Instagram. So my handle is my full name, at Gabriella Marie Audi. Gabriella like High School Musical, and then Marie, and Audi like the car.
Yes.
I love
That's
that.
awesome.
And then the last question here as we just wrap up, why should someone go for it? You are a great example of someone who's gone for it. You made a decision which has led to with the life that you're living in now. Why should somebody actually care enough to do it for themselves?
Yes. The world needs what you got, and in order to give it to the world, you have to first take care of yourself and provide for yourself. So take care of yourself so you can then go out and serve others.
Oh, what an awesome interview with Gabriella. She is just like such a sweetheart, but I also love she's just so awesome in business.
She's
She, like,
wise.
she's
Really
so
wise.
wise. She just takes the action every single day, and there's so much that I think everyone can learn from that. So go follow Gabriella, see what she's up to, maybe steal some ideas she has. I know she would love it if you did that.
Yeah.
So follow along with Gabriella as you watch her build her business.
Yeah, definitely rip off all of her short form, like speaking to the camera videos that she's talking about, because those are like so good. And obviously it led to so much of her lead generation stuff. So other than that, though, she also mentioned the pricing calculator and how useful it was for her in order to her just to figure out her pricing and then, pricing out different things as new work comes in. If you are like, what is that? I've never even heard of that. Well, it is a free resource that we built for you. We actually invested like $2,000 into building a pricing calculator because we searched the internet trying to find one to recommend to people, and we could not find a decent pricing calculator that was accessible and easy to use. So we built one. So creativerise.com/pricing calculator, or just click on the show notes here and you can see it. It's a completely free resource. You just make a quick account for it and you can log in there 100 times a day if you want. You can price out a wedding project, figure out how much you need to be making on each wedding in order to hit your income goals this year, or you can price out a way more complex brand project, a commercial project. The pricing calculator covers both of those. So shout out to Gabriella for shouting out the pricing calculator. We'd love if you were listening to this to go check it out, go use it. Link in the description of this podcast, or just click on the link in our bio on our social media, and you can go use that for free. Gabriella, thank you so much for being on the show today. Guys, if you love this episode, please make sure you share it. Even better, share it with a friend, share it on your story, tag Christy and I in Creative Rise, and also tag Gabriella's account, because we'd love for you to actually be able to follow up with her and encourage her online. And even better, send it to a friend, share it on your story, and then write us a 5-star written review. That is the algorithm for podcasts. That's how people just like you actually get pushed the show, so that more creatives just like you can learn how to break the creative struggle in their own lives and then go on to build a business they love and leads to a lifestyle that feels successful and that they also love, because they're getting paid to do what they love. So super excited about what we got coming up for you next week. I'm going to be talking about sales calls and how you can actually regain control of a sales call on next week's episode. So make sure you subscribe to the show so you can tune on in for that, and we'll catch you next week.